In philosophy of science, the distinction between observation terms and theoretical terms is one that was upheld by the logical positivists and the logical positivist theory of science, or philosophy of science, and epistemology. In this video, I basically want to discuss that distinction between observation terms and theoretical terms in the logical positivist trend of philosophy of science. Discuss why that's problematic, and thinking a bit about the article by Putnam in this book. Thinking a little bit about the article by Putnam, which is Problems with the Observational Theoretical Distinction. And this book, it's an anthology of articles in the philosophy of science called Scientific Inquiry, edited by Klee. I think it's a fantastic resource. It has two parts of it. The first part is about the positivist model of theory of philosophy of science. The second one is the kind of historicism, which I've not really been into yet, but I've just been reading this first section on the logical positivist with Frederick Supp, Alexander Rosenberg, and Putnam. I've actually read them all. I'm trying to go over them to figure out what I want to do in videos here for this channel. So in this video, I want to just kind of introduce you this little distinction, so you can kind of get a bit of an understanding of it. In the trend of logical positivism is a bit of a new or renewed empiricism, and that's, we had the Vienna Circle, which was kind of held Ludwig Wittgenstein as its like king, I guess, and it was this whole thing. It had Rudolf Carnap, Moritz Schlick, Friedrich Waismann, and many others, and it had Ernst Mach as its leader for a time, I believe. Moritz Schlick was also, and it was going after the whole Vienna Circle. I have a video about the writing that it had, that the Vienna Circle had as a whole. I have a video on those writings. It was against metaphysics and against meaninglessness, and it was trying to purge meaningless words and phrases from all of philosophy, and try to clarify meaningful concepts and clarify meaningless words and phrases and drive them out. It's just kind of trying to clarify things, and that's kind of a lot of how analytic philosophy is the way it is today. Analytic philosophy is about clarity. It's about being clear in what you say, and saying it in a certain way so that it's as clear as it possibly can, and to get the point home you want in as clear a way as possible. Continental philosophy, on the other hand, we have Heidegger in his essay Was ist Metaphysics, or What is Metaphysics for English, saying the nothings. That's kind of a thing that you don't really know what that means. There's this aspect of interpretation there. So the logical positivism is about clarity, and it's about sense data. Sense data is where we see a patch of something of a certain size, color, and shape. To where if I see this pen, there's a certain sense data with it that I can think about, I guess. And this is part of the linguistic turn in philosophy, because when we try to gain more knowledge or get to high levels of knowledge, it's about going from lower levels of language or lower levels of ways of talking and going higher up, because there's two kinds of, I guess, positivists. There's the people like Carnap and Schlick, who are foundationalists, where they try to use sense data or observation statements as to ground all of science and all of thought, I guess, to where we have observation statements or sense data, and then protocol statements, and then we move to thing languages and higher to theoretical statements and things like science and such, and it builds, and it's like we verify things from the language of sense data and move towards verifying things in thing language, and move towards verifying things in higher, or like languages like physics and chemistry and higher science. And that's how that's how we verify things and move towards higher levels of knowledge for the foundationalist positivists. The coherentists like Neurath are a little different. But the whole thing here is the observational theoretical distinction is one that is of the positivist model of philosophy of science, and that is because the observation terms and there are theoretical terms. The observation terms are terms that we can, I guess, that talk about things that are observable, like we think round, red, black, cylindrical, things like that. Things that we see within our sense datum language and our thing languages that are observable. And it's we can verify them through observation statements and protocol statements. Protocol statements are just observation statements that are pretty much things like, if I see a black patch of a certain size and shape, I will write it down, and the thing that I write down of that sense datum is my protocol. So we have those observation statements or those observation terms that are things that can be verified in experience only, and then we have the theoretical terms, and that's things like electron, proton, the neutron, having a certain reading of a certain scientific apparatus, which shows what showing things like like those scientific terms, or things like mitochondria in biology. This is something that has matter in it. This bottle does. It's a glass bottle. It has matter in it, but there's many atoms in it. Atoms make up matter according to science, and how that whole thing works is difficult. And it's difficult because how can we know that there are electrons in here? How can we know that there are electrons that make this up? Electrons are not exactly observable things. So, and basically how this relates to the positivists like Carnap and Schlick is because we have different languages between what we're talking about and how we're moving upward and getting higher levels of knowledge. Putnam has a problem with it. Has a problem with the distinction himself, and he mostly states that things like dreams and genes are also theoretical terms. The problem for which this dichotomy was invented as to how it's possible to interpret terms like electron and dream and gene is a fake problem, and to say that things are to have observational terms or statements having statements having observation terms and logical vocabulary. Let's see. Putnam says if an observation term is a term which can only be used to refer to observable things, then there are no observation terms. So it's a little bit of a difficulty here. It's kind of difficult to figure out, like, how can we verify these theoretical terms, and how can we figure out, how do we know when an electron is present? How do we know if a gene is present? There are ways of science to figure these things out, but it's kind of about moving upward from observation terms and upward to the theoretical ones. Excuse me. That's is the basic reason why there's this distinction, and there are many people who don't like it, and there's people who don't agree with it, and I'm going to be kind of going over, a couple of articles, and I have this book, and I have the anthology by Boyd, the Philosophy of Science, and basic reasons some people have given for introducing this dichotomy is false, and it's the whole thing about scientific justification. I forgot to mention this. For the positivists, justification moves upward. It goes from observation to protocol to thing language to common sense language to theoretical languages of various kinds, into moving up of higher levels of knowledge. And this whole thing is created just because there's a thought that justification does not move downward; it moves upward. But for Putnam, it moves in really any direction that is handy, as he states. He gives three different reasons why it's not really a good one. It isn't a good distinction. So I'm going to kind of do some videos over the course of over the course of the next month, and kind of talk about issues with this little observation and theoretical distinction. If you think I've kind of messed something up, or if you don't like this, or if you have something, if you have a question or something to discuss, comment below or on the side, depending on what kind of device you're using. I'll also put my Twitter down there, or you can YouTube message me, and on YouTube I get it faster than I will on Twitter. So either way, I will always get it, and I will get back to you. Thank you.